Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode we're doing It Came From the Network. Topic of this It Came From the Network, ECW Heat Wave 1998. This show comes to us as a recommendation from our one-page member Chris. I gave him the option to pick our top 10 this week and also what we'd like to review for It Came From the Network. He wanted me to do an ECW pay-per-view that I haven't done before from 97 to 2000, and I thought to myself, what better time than to do what is widely considered one of the best ECW pay-per-views. And anytime I get a chance to go back into the Extreme, even if it is the watered-down, edited, music-deleted WWE Network version, I love to go back. To quote the great Anthony Kiedis, "Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way." Going back to ECW, right at its heyday. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, I grade everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. With that being said, let's jump right into this. We start off with Joey Styles in the ring. He announces his color commentator for the show, which is going to be Shane Douglas, who's accompanied by Francine. There's a lot of jokes about Francine and her assets, to put it nicely. Pretty cool opening. I love Joey Styles, obviously. I think this was a good way to start the show. I think Shane Douglas did an absolutely awesome job as a commentator on this. That leads us into our first match. We get Justin Credible versus Jerry Lynn. Justin has Jason, Nicole Bass, and Chastity. I really enjoyed this match. Here we have, at the time, 2 future ECW heavyweight champions going at it, and they were going at it this entire summer. This was kind of the end of the feud for them. Credible picks up the win after interference from everybody that was mentioned before. I thought this was a really fun opener. I'm giving this a 4. That's followed up with our second match of the show, this time with one of Shane Douglas's triple threat partners, Chris Candido, going up against Lance Storm. Candido has a surprise. He brings out his girlfriend, Tammy Lynn Cinch, aka Sunny, and it's kind of serendipitous. I didn't mean it this way, but just the other day at the time of this recording, Candido and Tammy were the topic for Dark Side of the Ring, and it was a very emotional and very interesting Dark Side of the Ring. There were a few things that I learned from that show that I did not know about their story, and everybody pretty much knows the Sunny side. Everybody kind of looked up to Sunny for generations. This again was another really great match. They talked about this feud on the Dark Side of the Ring when they talked to Lance Storm, and how him and Candido would leave out of the matches being injured basically every night because they were going at it so hard. It's a really good match. Candido does pick up the win. I'm giving this one a 4. That's followed up with a video taped earlier in the day with New Jack out with some fans that are waiting to get in. As he's standing there, Jack Victory and the Dudley boys come up. They attack him, thus injuring him so he can't be involved in his weapons match that he was supposed to have with Jack Victory. That's followed up with a little promo with Rob Van Dam, Sabu, and Bill Alfonso. I always liked the interaction of these three. Van Dam being cocky, Sabu basically pretty much seething at the thought of Rob Van Dam, and Bill Alfonso keeping them both intact. However, it's very obvious that Bill Alfonso's a maniac too. I love these promos. It was really good. That leads us into probably one of the more famous feuds in ECW history. We have Masato Tanaka going up against Mike Awesome. And I've made it known before, as an ECW diehard, I'm not a fan of what Mike Awesome did trying to leave with the championship. I am going to do this objectively because, objectively, you can't go back and look at the Awesome versus Tanaka matches and not love them for what they were. I mean, there is a reason why these two are considered one of the great feuds of ECW history. There are some things that, looking at it at 2023 eyes, are a little cringeworthy. The unprotected chair shots, the power bombs onto concrete, a lot of really dangerous stuff that I wouldn't want to see happen today because I know what happens from that. You know the injuries these guys are going to get. However, it was with the time. It was something that had everybody talking. They were pushing the envelope of what was considered extreme. This was a really good match, one of their better matches in my opinion. Tanaka picks up the win here. I'm giving this a 5. I thought it was really good. Next up, we have a little promo from Taz, and seeing stuff like this and the match that he's going to have later in the show, it really takes me back to that time frame, and it takes me back to remembering just how badly WWF or WWE now messed up with Taz. Taz was one of the best characters in all of wrestling. He was a believable badass. He came off as menacing. When he talked, you could believe what he said. You thought he was a miserable bastard. This was just a great promo. And to see him go from that and not too long after that be basically just a goof in WWF, it's kind of disheartening knowing how much more he could have been. Imagine if the fully formed Taz human suplex machine character was to go up against the likes of The Rock and Steve Austin instead of being a rung or even two rungs down. Yeah, I know he was shorter, but even here, he was much shorter and smaller than his opponent in this, but it was very believable. You still believe that Taz was in there and he could do what was needed to be done, which he did. This is an awesome promo. It's followed by another promo, this time with the Dudley Boyz, Bubba, Big Dick, Sign Guy, Joel Gertner, and Devon. And they're talking about another thing, which kind of interestingly, I didn't pick it because of this, but I forgot that it tied in. This was just after the Dudley Boyz broke Beulah McGillicuddy's neck, and if you just watched the top 10 I put out a few days ago, I referenced that because I own the dress that she wore when they did that. You can see the video of them breaking her neck in here, so if you want to watch this, you can see that dress and then go back to the top 10 and see the dress that I have and see that it's the same exact thing. This to me was a little bit lackluster for a Dudley Boyz promo. I feel like Bubba Ray was a little bit too far on the hillbilly type gimmick that he was going with here. I don't know, maybe I'm just being a little too critical. Maybe juxtaposed against the Taz promo, it made it seem a little worse, but from the time, this wasn't as good as a lot of the Dudley Boyz stuff from that time was. Just my opinion. Next up, we have what many people consider one of the greatest matches in ECW history. We get for the ECW Tag Team Championship, Rob Van Dam and Sabu defending their championship against Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinsaki, who a lot of people know as Hakushi from his WWF run. This match was astounding. From the beginning to the end, you could see the templates of modern tag team wrestling in this match. At the time, even, they were so groundbreaking that if you watch this and then you watch, say, a Hardy Boys match or an Edge and Christian match a year later, or some of the things that other tag teams just a couple years later were doing, like the SATs or Triple X and TNA, you could kind of see the beginning of where tag team wrestling is today. There are moves done in this match that the Hardy Boys did not do before this match and definitely copied and did after this match. And that's no knock on the Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys are a great tag team, one of the top 10 tag teams of all time. I'd be willing to bet if you sat them down, they would definitely say they took some homage directly from Rob Van Dam and Sabu. And on the same token, Jinsei Shinsaki and Hayabusa. Hayabusa is basically the Japanese equivalent of Sabu if you're not familiar with him. He was so great and so innovative, much like Sabu was, just doing it in FMW. This is an absolutely outstanding match. I loved it. Like I said, I think it is the template of what tag team wrestling is now, whether you like that, love it, hate it. This is where it kind of evolved from. Van Dam and Sabu pick up the win here. I know I mentioned it before that I got a 1 to 5 scale, but much like Dave Meltzer, if he can break his scale, and he's way more serious of a reporter than I am, I just go by enjoyment. There's no like real thought into it. 5 means I just thoroughly enjoyed something. I'm giving this a 6. Like I said, it's one of the great matches in ECW history. I'll put this right up there against the Malenko Guerrero Classic, Taz vs. Shane Douglas at Guilty as Charged, Born to be Wired, the Three-Way Dance, any match that you could think of historically in ECW, I will put this right up there with it. This was one of the great matches of all time in the company. I absolutely loved it. Now going from that, we have an FTW Championship match. A championship that is active right now in AEW, was brought back after several years, 20 years to be exact. We get Taz defending his FTW Championship, which at the time he recently created because Shane Douglas would not give him a world title shot. He's defending it against one of Shane's stablemates in the triple threat in Bam Bam Bigelow. This is a rematch of the famous match where they fall through the ring. This time it's a Falls Count Anywhere match. I really enjoyed this. I love this era of Taz. Bam Bam, I think, is one of the best big men of all time. This was just a really fun match, really built on their feud. Two guys that were ultra believable, ultra talented. We see them battling on the rampway, which was something that ECW did now and again, where they have a ramp that was basically level with the canvas, so you could walk down, and instead of like going up the ring steps, just walk into the ring. They go through the rampway much like they did with the ring in their previous match. Bam Bam gets out first. Shane Douglas is saying that Bam Bam killed him, Bam Bam squashed him. Taz gets out of the rampway, climbs himself up, jumps on Douglas's back, puts on the Kata Hajime, or as they call it now with Hook his son using it, the Red Rum, their rear naked choke. Chokes Bam Bam out before Bam Bam could get to the ropes. I thought this was another really fun match. I'm going to give this one a 4. Like I said, Taz picked up the win here. I thought it was really good. Then we go into our main event of the show. The Dudley Boyz, Devon, Bubba Ray, and Big Dick, with Sign Guy Dudley, Joel Gertner, and Judge Jeff Jones, where he's just Jeff Jones at this point. They're going up against their half-brothers Spike Dudley, Sandman, and Tommy Dreamer. And this is marked as a Dudleyville street fight. This is the kind of match that people look back of when they think of ECW. This is the kind of thing they talk about. Wild, crazy brawls that went all over the arena. All kinds of plunder and furniture was used. Guys doing all kinds of crazy things to each other. Fan involvement. It was just another really fun match. I really enjoyed this as a great ender to a show. Go out on a high note. The face team of Dreamer, Sandman, and Spike Dudley pick up the win here. Afterwards, all the Dudleys attack them as well as Jack Victory, which brings out New Jack, which questions why is New Jack too injured to wrestle if he could come out and make the save here. But we go off of the air with the faces standing tall. All three, New Jack, Dreamer, and Sandman, standing on ladders doing their poses, with Spike Dudley standing in front of the ladders. I thought this was really fun. I'm giving this one a 4. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this from the beginning to the end. Like I said, the tag team title match is one of the best in ECW history. Tanaka and Awesome is one of the biggest feuds and one of their great matches here. The promos with guys like Taz, Rob Van Dam, Sabu, even the Dudleys, even though it was a lesser one of their promos, seeing basically 9 former ECW world champions on the show. Chris Candido and Lance Storm coming off of them talking about it on Dark Side of the Ring. This was just a great show, and I actually didn't pick it because of that. It just happened to be coincidence. I thoroughly enjoyed this from beginning to end. I'm giving this a 5. I recommend watching the entire thing from the start to the finish. You'll really enjoy it. The only thing that's unenjoyable is the crowd noise that they pipe in and the fake music when they can't use the licensed music. Although I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's kind of weird that they pipe in music over other wrestlers, but Taz has an instrumental version of War Machine by Kiss, and Kiss, I know for a fact, are big on their copyrights, so I don't know how they get away with that, but not anything else. Maybe it's just tweaked just enough that it's not the song. I don't know. I'm giving the show overall a 5. Again, I thought it was highly entertaining. I want to say a big shout out again to Chris. Thank you again for being a member. Thank you for the suggestion. Thank you for letting me go down this memory lane. If you'd like to make a suggestion just like Chris did for this, the easiest way to make a suggestion and for me to take it into consideration is to become a member. You also get some other perks. There's some emojis. Your comments are going to go to the top of the comment section. I do release the videos a little bit early for this week since it's the first week I'm doing it. It's going to be about a day or so early, just under a day. Basically, as soon as I'm done editing them, you'll have access to them before anybody else does, whether that be a day, whether it be 12 hours. Depending on how my schedule is, you'll have first access, guaranteed. If you want that, there's a little button that says join there. Become a member of the page. While you're there, smash the like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't, because if you're going to become a member, you might as well subscribe too. Or I think you do have to subscribe to be a member. Either way, all those fun things that all the YouTube personalities say. With that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been another It Came From The Network.